Welcome to Haunting Live Podcast, a place where we bring a new paranormal guest each episode to share their journey and experiences. For more Haunting Live real experiences, be sure to follow us on our social on Instagram, Facebook, and also Blue Sky. And don't forget to also check us out on our official website, HauntingLivePodcast.com.
I've never seen dead people. They talk to me. I hear them, but I don't see them. Okay. I don't know if seeing them will ever manifest. Maybe it will one day. I don't know if I really wanted to, because I don't know what they're going to look like, and that kind of freaks me out a little bit. It's like, I don't want to see like what you see in the movies. And they just laugh at me and say, yeah, we don't look like that.
Are you looking for that hard to find item, spiritual item that your loved one wants to always get, but you don't know where to check out? Why not check us out here underneath HauntingLivePodcast.com. Underneath our store, though, we actually have tons of items from dream catchers, crystals, so many more for you. Check us out underneath HauntingLivePodcast.com.
Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Log in underneath Podbean and Facebook Live with Divine Oracle Podcast and Haunting Live. Trevor from Haunting Live will be doing chat with you guys, while Brother Chris from Divine Oracle Podcast will be offering soul coaching cards. Reach out and listen live. You never know what the spirits want you to know.
Hey, Haunting Live fans, it's your girl, Yolanta Meri. And today, as usual, I got a really good one for you. But this one, it's got a little bit of a Cajun twist. Now, buckle up, butter tarts, because we're about to hear an incredible Southern accent. Oh, my heart. From a tarot reader, intuitive oracle card reader, who has voices from the swamp. It is none other than Shari Hinkle. Hi, Shari. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Yolanta. Thank you for having me back. And like I was telling you earlier, I got to talk with Trevor last time I came on, so I was looking forward to talking with you, and that way I got you both, you know.
You know what? And I heard so many good things that Trevor had to say about you before and after the show, let alone the show itself, because
good.
What the viewers don't always know is we chat a little bit beforehand, and sometimes we chat a little bit after.
Especially for those of us who like to talk.
Yes. So he has nothing but praise to say about you, and I am super excited for this interview.
Yay, me too. I've been looking forward to it. So I get a little gravelly sometimes. I apologize in advance. I had a cervical fusion done back in 2011, and they go through the front of your throat to get to the back of your neck. And when they did, my vocal cords were damaged. And so now it sounds like I'm talking through a gravel pit a lot of times.
It just adds to that nice southernness that you've got going on.
I can make it a little bit thicker if I want to, but normally I don't. I mean, most people, they know I'm from the South by the way I talk, but a lot of them can't pinpoint where I'm from in the South because I don't have a specific Southern accent. And I think it's because I've lived up and down the Gulf Coast my whole life. And so different areas are different tonalities in the way certain words are pronounced. And then of course, back home here in Louisiana, it's Southern. It's not real Cajun. I have to be around other people who speak with that Cajun accent. In 5 minutes, I'm talking just like them. My mother was a bit of a gypsy. We were always moving. She never liked to stay in the same place too long. And so it was a lot of back and forth up and down the coast. And but I've been right near the water most of my life. So I love the beach. That's my favorite place.
So, Shari, for those people that are tuning in today that maybe didn't hear the episode with Trevor or aren't familiar with you, just quickly, how did you fall into being a psychic medium? Is this something that you were all your whole life?
It's a hereditary thing. I've always been psychic. I just pretended that I wasn't for the majority of my life. Um, but all the women in my family have what they call the gift, and that's in parentheses there. Um, I think I was 9 the first time that I really said something that kind of was like a glaring observation of, oh my God, how did you know that? And I just remember my mother looking at me from across the room and she went, oh, you've got the gift too. And that was it. Not another word, never talked about it because she just didn't talk about it. I didn't talk about it. So I would hear things, see things, know things, and I would just pretend that I didn't hear, see, or know things. Sometimes stuff would slip out and somebody would look at me like, how did you know that? I'd just be like, oh, just a wild guess. And just one of those weird fluky things, just a wild guess. I don't know. And because I was always afraid that I would be shunned, I guess. People would look at me weird or laugh at me and I had very low self-esteem as a child. I was very self-conscious and uh very worried that I wouldn't fit in with the crowd because basically I'm really a shy person. Most people don't believe me when I say that, but shortly after my husband died, that was in 2001.
Okay.
And that was about the time that all the ghost shows started coming on TV. And I would watch them and be like, oh, I've had that happen, and I would watch them and see different things happening. And I'd be sitting there going, well, that happened when we lived in such and such a place. And my mother would just be like, yeah, I know. And she just didn't want to get into it. I kind of started cracking that door open around then, just because I was actually seeing other people experiencing something that I had experienced most of my life, and thought I was a weirdo and nobody else did this.
Yep.
And then there was it was like when online radio first started. This was about the mid 2000s, and there was a network called ParaX, PARAX. And they had uh, cryptid shows, ghost shows, psychic shows, just the gamut. You could go online at any time of the day or night, and if somebody wasn't live, then there was a show in a rerun that you could listen to on any one of those topics. And I started listening, and I was just fascinated. And I would click into the psychic shows, and there were several times when psychics would do like a phone reading. You could call in and they would talk to you for a minute or two and then give you a reading. And I had several over the course of a couple of years say, well, why are you calling and asking? You should be reading other people. You're psychic.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I was like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. And they were like, yeah, you are. And then I guess it was around 2006, 2007, right in that area. I was living in Arizona at the time, and I was living like on the other side of the highway from one of the reservations. And they had a little cigarette store right there, right off the highway on the reservation side. And so I would go there to get cigarettes because they were cheaper. And I
Yep.
got to know the guys that ran the store, and they were just the sweetest people in the world. I had gone in one day, and one of the guys was like, oh, hey, come see, come over here, come see. And I walk over and I'm like, yeah, what's up? And he says, we've got new calendars that we've made out for our special customers. He said, all the artwork in the calendar is from the tribe. It's
Oh
some
wow.
of it, is pictures, some is paintings, some are drawings, but it's all from the local tribe right there. And I was like, oh, awesome. Well, how much is it? He says, no, no, it's a gift. We're only giving it to our special customers. And I'm like, okay, so I'm special. That's awesome to know. And so my mother was living with me at the time. I lived in Phoenix, And I brought the calendar home and she was all excited. Oh, let's look through it, all the pictures. And as we went through the pictures, there was one picture that literally, when we flipped to it and I saw it, I physically felt something reach out and grab me. And very clearly in my head, I heard, "We're your guides."
Oh, wow.
And I didn't know what that meant at the time. Now, this was a watercolor picture, and it was, you could see like Indian chiefs, horses. Other people have looked at it and said they see dragons um, and other faces, but it's like a windswept. It's like somebody painted it and then like whooshed it all to one side so that it looks like they're standing in this strong wind blowing everything back.
Okay.
And it just, the it was just so profound. I wouldn't let, it was like I went out and bought another calendar to use that year because I wouldn't let anybody write on it for fear that it would mess up the picture. And so one day my mother snuck it out of the house. She worked in the framing department of Joann's, and she brought it to work. And she had bought this big, huge wooden frame, and she like double, triple matted it, the picture, and then the frame, and she had the colors matching the colors in the painting. And she framed it up and everything, and then gave it to me as a gift, which it still hangs above my bed. It's the first
Oh,
thing I see in the morning. It's the last thing I see at night. And it's just, it's like I look at it and I feel them really strongly. Like, these are my guides. I asked them once, well, what are your names? And one of them said, you can't pronounce it. And I'm like, oh, okay. They're like, call us whatever. You can't say it anyway. And I'm like, okay, I'll take your word on that. So, uh, but I mean, I have like a little smidgen of Cherokee in me. According to family lore, we do have some Cherokee in us. So I always felt like maybe that's why the Native American artwork and music and stuff has always been really profound for me. It feels like a connection, like that's where I'm supposed to be. And and it doesn't matter what tribe it is or anything. It's just a like an overall connection I've always felt. YouTube was really starting to get popular about then. Because I had a YouTube channel for years and all I ever did was go watch music videos on it. And that was about it. And so I started just channel surfing on YouTube, and I came across a political tarot reader who was reading progressive political tarot, and I was blown away. I didn't know that even existed. And so I started watching her. Watching her led to me to somebody else's channel, started watching them, which led me to, it's like you start getting, it starts coming up in your feed, different channels.
yeah.
And so I would start watching, and some people I was like, yeah, they're not my cup of tea. And other people I just really gravitated towards. And I probably did that for a good several months before I even ever chatted in the chat because I kept thinking these people can't be this nice all the time. When are the claws coming out? You know they're coming, right? I was watching a regular weekly show one night, a live show, and I don't remember what they were talking about, but the topic hit me and I started chatting. And suddenly I had 4 or 5 people responding back. Well, it took you long enough to finally talk to us. And I'm like, how
Oh my
did you know?
goodness.
How did you know I was here? And they're like, we're psychic, remember? So are you. And one
Oh my
lady in
goodness.
particular started in with, you're psychic, right? And I was like, yeah, no, not really. And she's like, no, really. She says, you're supposed to be reading cards. And I'm like, I don't even own cards. I don't know anything about cards. And she was like, give me your address. And she sent me 2 decks. And so I got them and I emailed her back and I said, okay, now what? It's just play with them. It's just when you watch other shows, if they're throwing cards, you throw cards. Are you getting the same message? Are you getting a different message? Why do you think that is on either side of that? And her name's Angela. Her channel is Cartomancy Mesquite. And she's a lovely, lovely lady, has taught me a lot. Um, and and she was just always kind of there in the beginning, giving me confidence that I could do this. And then I finally decided to do something with my channel. And then I thought, okay, well, I have to have a name. I just can't go on with my name. Everybody else had all these cool sounding names for their channels. And I was sitting here and then I heard in my head, dummy, you hear voices and you live in the swamp. Duh. And I went, oh, okay. Voices from the swamp. That's it. There we go. Another psychic, Arthur from Ease Your Mind.
Yes. Yes, we had him on the show before.
Yes. He's the one that told me about y'all. And he and I met about a year and a half. No, about 2 years ago, I guess it was. I saw him on Linda G. Comanche Psychic channel.
Yes. We've had her on too.
Yeah, Linda is
She's great.
just such a sweetheart. Oh, I love her to death. And I saw him on Linda's channel, and so I emailed him and I said, hey, I saw you on Linda's channel. I would love to have you be a guest. And he told me later, he says, you're the first one besides Linda that invited me to come on their channel. And I was like, really? Wow, I figured I just missed you somewhere. He was like, no, I was brand new at it myself. So, and we just got to be friends. And then about a year and a half ago, I had to go out to California on some business. And I was going to be real close to LA. And so I spent a day over in LA, met a couple of other readers that lived there. And then I got to go meet Arthur, and we just like hung out together for the evening, went out to eat, and then just hung out at his place for a while. And just, he became my brother then at that point. It was like, okay, you're family now. And, but he's the one that started in on me. Look in the camera when you talk. Sit up. Don't lean forward. Do this. Because he's been in front of the camera for many years because of his past jobs and stuff that he did. He was a journalist and whatnot. And so he was on television and stuff. And he's very talented. And so he just started like a drill sergeant telling me, this is how you do it. You got to sit here. You got to do that. You got to talk louder. Don't mumble.
Oh my goodness.
And not too long ago, he was like, I've been really hard on you, haven't I? And I said, not really. I said, you were teaching me. I said, and I can be really hard-headed sometimes. So you had to get very drill sergeant-y with me, And he's like, okay, as long as you're not mad at me. I said, no, I'm not mad at you. I said, I've learned a lot from you and I appreciate it, And my guides, my ancestors, everybody were there. And they were all like, well, it's about damn time. We're getting cramped in here. Let us out, At first, they kind of hit me with a lot of stuff and it was too much. I got overwhelmed. And I was like, I can't do this. And so they kind of backed off and kind of let me get comfortable with one thing. And then they'll bring something else in. And then I'll start getting comfortable with that. And then they'll bring something else in, like it started out, I could hear them. I've never seen dead people. They talk to me. I hear them, but I don't see them.
Okay.
I don't know if seeing them will ever manifest. Maybe it will one day. I don't know if I really wanted to because I don't know what they're going to look like. And that kind of freaks me out a little bit. It's like, I don't want to see like what you see in the movies. And they just laugh at me and say, yeah, we don't look like that. But, and a lot of times they just tell me, I'll hear it very clearly. And they speak into my left ear because I'm partially deaf in that ear. And so I think because outside sounds are not as clear that they're able to speak clearer into that ear. I don't hear them in my other ear, only in my left ear. And sometimes I just know things. It's somebody will be talking or somebody ask a question and it just pops out of my mouth and I'm like, well, I don't know where that came from, but invariably they're like, oh, I get it. It's,
Oh,
and
wow.
then about a year of doing that, uh, several other psychics started telling me, you're a medium, don't you? And I'm like, y'all keep telling me that, but I'm not seeing anything in that area. And they're like, yeah, give it time. It's coming. And I was like, okay. And so sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's like I watch some of the other mediums that just like it's like a light switch. They just flip it on and off and pulling it in. And I'm like, how do y'all do that? One of the ladies who's an amazing medium and psychic, Sun Psychic Jean is her name, her channel
Okay.
name. And she's like, oh, you just got to learn to control the flap. I was like, the flap? I said, what is the flap? She said, the flap over your third eye. You just got to learn when to open it, when to close it, when you want to talk to them, when you don't want to be bothered. And I was like, okay, how do you do that? And she says, well, you just have to practice. And so I practice at it. And some days it works great. Some days, nothing. It's nothing comes. And so which is kind of weird. A lot of times when somebody because I do private readings, and so when someone is scheduled and paid for a private reading, and invariably they'll ask me, can I get a message from their mother or their uncle or their grandpa, whatever. And I tell them, I said, there's no guarantees. I said, sometimes they come they come right in and they talk to me. I said, and sometimes there's just nothing there. They're just nothing. I don't hear anything. And so, I let people know that in advance so that they know I may or may not get anything. I'll start with the cards, and usually after several card throws, I guess I start warming up, and then suddenly I start hearing who they're wanting to hear from. I was actually doing a reading for an old family friend that I had known since I was like 10 or 11, I think, when I first met this lady and her soon to become husband that she's still married to after all these years.
Oh,
And
wow.
she was good friends with my mom and my mom's sister. And when we lived in Florida, because we lived next to the Air Force Base, and both my aunt's husband, my uncle, was Air Force, and so was this lady's husband. He was also Air Force. And I mean, when we were younger, I always thought she was like just the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. She was just gorgeous, dark brown eyes and dark, almost solid black hair. And she was like 4'10".
Oh
She
my goodness.
she was a little bitty thing. And her husband is like 6 foot something.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's like you could almost stack her on top of herself to get to where he is. And it always struck me funny that, it was this big difference in height. It didn't seem to bother them in the least. And they're still married after all these years. So, it's like, I guess it worked. And, but when I first started kind of putting it out there that I was doing private readings, and she messaged me and she says, I want to get a reading. And I'm like, okay. And she says, I want to do it officially. I want to pay you for it. And you give me a real reading. And I'm like, okay. And so she sent me we couldn't get our schedules to fit to get together on camera. And so she was like, I'll just email you my questions and you just do the reading and send it to me. And I'm like, okay. So as I'm recording the reading and I'm she wanted to talk to her mother who had passed like the year before, I think it was. And I was struggling because I just wasn't hearing or feeling anything. And then all of a sudden my mom was there and I was like, why are you here? She says, well, I'm getting fill in the blank name. I'm getting her mother. Give me a minute. And then I have a message for her too. I was like, okay. And so she got her mother to come in and talk to me and told me some stuff. And so I was able to record that. And then my mom was like, okay, it's my turn. And then she gave me a message for our friend. And I was able to put that in, which I got this email full of her sobbing, saying, oh my God, I can't believe you talked to my mom. And then you talked to Sharon too. That was my mother. And she was just beside herself that my mom showed up too to talk to her because when my mother first got diagnosed with dementia, when it started getting really bad, and we would correspond through Facebook.
Okay.
And because my mom was never online. And she said, well, do you think she would, she still kind of remembers who I am. You think she would like to get a card or something from me every once in a while? I said, oh, she'd probably love that. And so every couple of months, she'd send a card or flowers or that kind of thing to my mom, which my mom always remembered who she was. She never forgot her, and which
Wow.
was really awesome. Out of all the people she did forget, she never forgot her. And I don't know if it was just because that effort of making that connection was there. That was that was the first time my mother showed up to bring somebody to me to come talk to my daughter so she can answer questions for whoever it was I was reading for. And she doesn't always show up now because I'm getting a little stronger at it. But there's still a lot of times when she just kind of like hanging in the background, like, okay, I went and got Mr. Joe. He's here now, or I went and found Grandpa Eddie, or whoever. And so I'm like, okay, thanks, Mom, and, and just kind of go from there. Um, so that's kind of unique, and while I love to read the tarot cards and everything, I really fell for oracle cards. They really spoke to me, and so I have far too many cards. It's an obsession. I can't control myself. Every time a new deck of cards arrives to the house, my guys look at me and go, "Really?
Yep.
Another deck of cards? You really needed that?" I'm like, "Yes, I do. I need those."
Yep.
And but a lot of times I give them away. It's like even if I read with them for a while, or I'll get them and they just don't talk to me, and then
Mhm.
I'll hear that deck is for so and so. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I'll just send them the deck and say, it's the guide says this is for you. And they're like, well, how much do I owe you? I'm like, no, you don't owe me anything. It's a gift. They
Oh,
told me to
that's
give them to you, so I give them to you. And invariably, it's a deck that they've really wanted. Or uh, the first time I did it, I was meeting someone for a personal face to face reading. It was my first time of actually sitting across a table from somebody and reading for them in the same room. And so that was kind of weird. Because by then I was used to just doing it online. So it was kind of weird that I'm doing it in person. So I was trying to get all my stuff packed up that morning to bring with me because we were meeting after work. And I was like, I don't want to drive across town to go home and get my stuff to turn around and go all the way back across town and meet up with her to read. I'll just bring everything with me. And um, at one point, I picked up this one deck of cards, and then I looked at it and I said, no, I don't want those. And I put them back. My guides had me go back 5 times to go get that deck of cards
oh my
and put it in
goodness.
my bag. And so finally, I was like, okay, fine. I'm getting the deck. I'm putting them in the bag. And I brought them with me. We did the reading and we were kind of wrapped up. And I said, let me pull a couple of oracle cards for you. And I pulled the deck out and she lit up like a Christmas tree. She was like, those are fairies. You've got a
Oh
fairy
my
deck.
goodness.
And I went, yeah, these are for you. I said, I was supposed to bring these for you. And she was like, well, I can't take that. I said, no, you have to take it. I said, because they were very specific and they told me these were for you. And that's why I brought them with me today. So these are yours. And as she just loved the deck. It just really spoke to her, And so now when I'm told a deck belongs to somebody, then I get their address and I send it to them. It's like, okay. The past year, I've started reading more with Arthur and with Mel Dorr, the Aloha Shirt Psychic. I don't know if y'all have talked with him or not.
Not yet.
He's hilarious. Oh my God, Mel is so funny. And he's amazing. He doesn't use cards. Arthur doesn't use cards. Every now and again they'll pull out a card, but they don't read with cards. It just comes like that. And when I'm reading with them, I find that information is just flowing through me.
Okay.
I don't know if it's just I get charged up because they're they're up and running hot and it just kind of
Mm-hmm.
leads over to me and opens me up a little bit more so that I'm hearing it. So I'm not really throwing as many cards as I normally would because I don't have to. So it just depends. When I read with some people that use cards for everything, then I find I'm using cards for everything. Or mostly everything. And then there are a few other people that I'll read with on occasion that don't use cards. And I'll find we get going and I just have decks sitting around me and I'm not using them because it's just the energy just starts flowing through. And so now I'm at the point where I'm trying to figure out how to turn that on for myself when nobody else is around me. Just do it myself. And
Yeah.
so it's getting a little easier. I guess we've been here about a month and we have a front patio off our front door with like a half wall it's probably about 4.5 feet high, the wall that goes around the patio. I'm 5 feet tall, so it's like that's about all you see of me over the wall. And when I sit down, you don't see me at all. You have to literally come look over the wall to see if I'm there. And I was sitting there and I saw something go whoosh right by me, like out of the parking lot, because the
Oh my
parking lot
gosh.
was right there. And
Yeah.
I kind of looked up and I thought, what was that? I mean, number one, ducks make a lot of noise when they fly,
That they
and they
do.
don't go that fast.
No, they don't.
And this was like a whoosh, real fast. And I just kind of sat there for a minute. I'm like, okay, I must be imagining things. A couple of minutes later, come back the other way. Whoosh. And I'm like, all right, that time I saw something and I don't know what I saw. And so I stood up and I started looking, and it was this beautiful eagle. And I was like,
No
an
way.
eagle? I didn't know we had eagles in Louisiana. Evidently we do. Go figure. But I was like, we have eagles in Louisiana? I wasn't aware of that. And it would come by like every day for about 2 weeks. It would come by and it would be like right about eye level if I was standing. And so when I was sitting, I'd have to look up a little bit, but it would whoosh down the parking lot right next to our apartment. And so I started bringing a camera outside with me. I had a little camcorder and thought, okay, I'm going to catch this and put it up, right? The minute I'd pull the camera out, it would literally disappear. It would fly straight up into the sky and disappear from view. And it took several times before I realized, okay, it's not meant to share with a picture. It's for me to see. So,
Yeah.
and then I was telling somebody else about it, and they're like, well, that's one of your spirit guides. And I'm like, yeah, I realize that now, but I didn't know it at
Yeah.
the time. And then about 6 months after that started happening, his mate started coming with him.
Oh, okay.
And so it was two of them coming together. And I was like, it's the coolest thing because when one of them whooshed by, I get up and just go stand by the wall and watch, and they dip and fly, and because eagles fly very differently than other birds.
Yes.
Birds flap when they fly. They flap, flap, flap. Eagles, like 1, 2, maybe 3 flaps, and then they just soar. And it's like they're just riding that wind, whatever wave that they're on in that upper atmosphere. And they just soar, and they don't flap unless they're either wanting to speed up or slow down. And then they'll flap a little bit. But I've never really seen them flap that much. And since then, I found out that we actually have a preserve north of me, of where I'm located, where they actually have cameras that stay on them all the time, because they just had hatched eggs.
Really?
It was last year that happened. And so that was kind of cool. I was like, oh, wow.
That's very cool.
I could watch them right here.
Well, when you're doing like mediumship and you talk to people about signs coming from your spirit love, like from your loved ones in spirit, it's like sometimes it's like something that could be perceived as mundane, but it's a sign when it's doing something weird or shows up right at that time. So you've got the timing right there. And then you've got this is something really weird.
Yeah, it blew my mind. I mean, I had to think about it, and I was telling somebody else about it, that, one of the other readers that I'm good friends with, and she was like, well, that was your mom.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. I said, I realized that afterwards. And that's when I realized it was just mama stopping in to say hello. And I'm very open-minded about stuff. It's like, yeah, somebody will say something kind of off the wall, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I could see that happening. It's like I know some that are real into ETs and UFOs. Now, I've seen UFOs when I was a teenager. It was a group of us that sat and watched this light show go on over our heads. That back in the 70s, we didn't have aerial equipment in this country that moved like that. I don't think we have aerial equipment today that could move like they moved. And we just all sat there and watched for like an hour going, oh my God, I can't believe what I'm seeing. But I've never had a face-to-face ET meeting that I'm aware of. Maybe I haven't, I just don't remember. But I know several people that have, and they're very distinct in what they know and what they've seen and what they've discussed with extraterrestrials. And the first few times I heard them talking about it, and part of my brain is like, yeah, come on. And then it's like, well, wait a minute. You've been watching people talking about this kind of stuff for decades, and you never really acted like it wasn't real then, because it just didn't really think about it. It was just something entertaining I watched on TV. But then when you meet somebody that has had those experiences, and you're like, well, okay. And the first couple of times I was just polite about it, like, oh my God, they believe they did this or saw that. And then I caught myself and I thought, okay, Miss Hypocrite, you tell people that you hear dead people talking to you and you expect them to believe you. So, you hear spirits and guides and stuff talk to you and you expect people to believe you. So who's to say there's not ETs talking to you too, and you just don't know it yet? I'm like, okay, point taken. Maybe I have a few ETs that are talking to me too. I don't know. They haven't given me any technical knowledge that I would think they would know, since they would be far more advanced than we are to come and visit us, because we're not able to do that. So I'm excited. I can't wait for them to come and introduce themselves to the world. Like to finally say, yes, we're here. Here we are. I think that would be the coolest thing ever. I think for a lot of us, it would be the affirmation that what we've always kind of known and believed is real. And I think for a lot of people, it will terrify them.
Yes.
because it will go against everything they've been taught to believe religiously, spiritually, mentally. It will just, they won't be able to cope with it. And that's sad when you think about it. So, I mean, yeah, there's just so many things out there that we just don't know or understand yet. I had a thing, and I can't remember now where I learned about it from, where you could go in and put in like your birth date. It's like getting an astrology reading, but
Okay.
this is, they give you like a star report where
Oh,
they're
okay.
able to go back and they can tell you, like, you come from the Arcturians, or you come from the Pleiadians, or you come from, these different extraterrestrial groups. That's where your lineage goes to. And so I thought, well, that's interesting. I wonder who I connect with. And so I filled out the little form and submitted it. And when I got it back, that portion of mine was blank. And so I emailed the lady that did the reports, and I said, "Well, mine's blank. What, did it screw up or something and it didn't record it, or what happened?" And she was like, "Wait, let me look." And she comes back, she says, "Oh, you're from the before time." And
Oh,
I'm like, "Excuse me? I'm from where?" She says, "You're from the before time." And I said, "From before what?" She said, "From before." I said, "Okay, let's specify before. Before what?" And she said, "Before everything." And I'm like, "Everything what?" And she says, "Everything before the universes, plural, were created, before any of this came into existence. You were part of that group that helped make this all happen. All the
oh
different
my.
universes and everything." And it just, I still get goosebumps when I talk about it. And I was just like blown away. And I was like, "Okay." I said, "So what does that mean?" And she says, "It just means that you are older than any other spirit you're going to meet on this planet, unless they too come from the before time." She said, "And there are others that come from that time. Just know that that's what it is." And so I was sharing that with someone else who's kind of interested in that stuff. And she said, "Oh, that means you're a celestial."
Oh my.
And I said, "Well, I don't feel very celestial at all." So I said, "It's probably worn off by this point." But there you go. That's my closest ET experience I think I've ever had, other than just seeing dancing lights in the sky. I had a vision last summer. I had a very clear vision of William being coronated as king, but Charles was not dead. He was still alive. And so, and it really struck me because I was like, is that possible? I thought the
Yep.
one in the position had to die before the next one could come in. And I've since learned, well, not necessarily. They can abdicate and walk away from the throne so that the next person can come in. And I'm like, okay, now I don't know when this is going to happen. I've never been given a timeline. I just, I, let me take that back. I've seen it was in summer for them. And their summertime isn't quite the same as our summertime. It's kind of different times of the year. Not quite. I think we're like a few months off from one another from when their
I
summer
don't know.
comes. And
I think it's
uh
just cold and wet there a lot.
yeah, I mean, I know, like, I have a couple of friends that live in New Zealand and Australia, and their winter is our summer and vice versa, on two different sides of the planet. Um, so, but I've seen it very clearly. I've seen William getting coronated, but Charles is still there. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. And I've had that vision several times in the past year. So, and then the thing came out that he had cancer, and I thought, oh my goodness. So I don't know, maybe he gets too sick and decides to step down. That's my rational brain thinking that. I've not been told that. I've only been shown that little bit of a vision of William being coronated. And it's like I see the whole thing in my, all the pomp and circumstance that goes with it. And him getting crowned, I guess they call it when they put the crown on his head and stuff. But Charles is still right there. And so it's just really weird. I know there's still a lot of conflict between him and his brother, between William and Harry. And I've had people ask me, well, are they ever going to make up? And I'm like, yeah. I said, eventually they will make up and Harry will be his staunchest advisor and supporter. He will, other than Catherine, Harry will be his right-hand man. I said, I've seen her as queen and she's going to rock it. I mean,
yeah,
she's going to be awesome at that. And I don't really know or understand that much about the British way that, I don't really understand all of it. And I certainly can't keep all the titles and who's above who straight. It's like, y'all crazy. It's like, who can keep up with that? I mean, you have to be born into it to keep up with it. And that was when Elizabeth was still alive. She was still queen. And
wow. Okay. So before
but she wasn't,
we know.
But she wasn't there. She had already passed. And the knowledge was just there that Charles had been king and had stepped down. And so it was very clear like that. And I was like, I didn't think that was possible because I remember leading up to her death, there were a lot of people talking about, was he just going to step aside and let William step right into it? And there were those for it, those against it, and I don't know, crazy stuff. And I'm like, he's waited his whole damn life to get that throne. He's not about to walk away from that. Are you crazy? Like, he had to be on his deathbed to not take that. And even then, I think he would have done it if he thought he could get away with it, as long as he has a breath. I was like, I don't see him not taking. I mean, I remember when Diana was, I remember the wedding. Oh my God, there was a group of us. We sat up all night to wait for it, to watch it live on TV. And people that we had a VCR by then, there was a lot of people that were recording it, but it's always been kind of interesting, but I just don't know a lot about it. Never really thought about it. I had too many other things I had to deal with. And I just got that.
The thing is, you're just the receiver, right? You're receiving all that information.
Yeah. I'm only getting one piece of the elephant. I don't know what the other pieces look like. I'm only getting the one section I'm being shown. And so, but that's what they've shown me.
Well, Shari, it's been really nice chatting with you today.
It has, and I've just yammered away. I'm sorry.
It's been lovely, actually, hearing your progression and hearing all of these stories. And I think everybody that listened not only learned a lot about you, but learned a lot about how working with your abilities grows and how important community is when we're learning not just like mediumship or psychic abilities or leaning into our abilities in general, but it's something that we need to lean in more when we're learning anything or wanting to perfect anything, is that
absolutely
community.
Yeah.
So yes, you
I tend to start talking and I don't shut up. You have to literally go, stop talking now. It's my turn.
But I think this was a beautiful
oh good. I'm
story
glad.
of everything, and I really appreciated it, and I've had a lot of fun. But I also need to ask you, people that are listening that do want a reading from you, now that you have worked on your skill and you are quite fantastic at it, where can they find you for a private reading? Where can they find your YouTube channel?
YouTube, it's at Voices from the Swamp. Just plug that into YouTube and it'll take you to my channel. And for readings, I don't have a website yet. I'm kind of working on that, but they can just email me at Swamp Voices, all one word, SWAMPVOICES @gmail.com, and just put reading in the subject line, and then I'll get back in touch with you and go over what services I offer and how much they cost, and then you decide if you want to schedule a reading or not. And I'm hoping that by next year I'll have something up and running where people can just go to a website.
And is there anywhere else where people can find you?
I'm on Facebook, Swamp Lady without the A. That's the best places. Instagram is some version of Swamp Lady, and I think it's just Swamp Lady without the A. So Facebook and Instagram pretty much the same. I have a TikTok account, but I can't ever get the stupid thing to work, so I don't really hang out on it that much.
Okay.
I'm just lost with it. It's like, that's about it. I'm not really on. I have a Substack. Okay, Substack is just Swamp Lady, again with no A, just SWMP LADY at substack.com. I'll post things every now and again. Blue Sky, I'm on Blue Sky is Swamp Lady without the A. And Facebook, Swamp Lady without the A. Instagram, Swamp Lady without the A. Pinterest, Swamp Lady without the A. So, yeah, that's pretty much, if you look for Swamp Lady without the A in it, 9 out of 10 is going to be me.
9 out of
'Cause
10,
a lot
except
of
for YouTube, it's Voices from the Swamp.
That's it. And YouTube is Voices from the Swamp. So that's what they told me to put. So that's what I put.
Love it. So, everybody, if you've loved today's episode, which you really should have, please check out Shari on her YouTube or through any of her socials, and make sure not just to like and subscribe, but to also book a private reading with the very talented Swamp Lady.
Miss one of our episodes? Replay your episodes on Rhode Island Broadcasting. Show your support for Haunting Live by supporting our broadcast partner, Rhode Island Broadcasting. Find them on YouTube.